Doobie-doo-doo-doo. Alright there, you little demons. Jules here for WhatCulture.com, back again with another episode of the awesomely named and awfully hosted Choose Your Own Adventure, the weekly medieval themed format where I, the crown jewels of WhatCulture.com, take a list chosen by you. Yes, you, the person who has a new studio-ish. I've just basically turned my desk around and moved a few things. I'm standing now. Wait, look at these. These are my knees. I'm over 30, so they actually hurt immediately, straight away. I shouldn't have done that. That's me out for the rest of the day after recording this. Yes, you get to decide what list I dole out to you each and every week. And this week we have none other than Dark Story Edits for their suggestion of video game villains who actually wanted you to win. Now, I know that sounds like a bit of a strange concept, because why would a villain want you, the hero, to win? After all, they are the villain of the piece. Although maybe they don't see themselves as that, and they want to stop you however they can. But sometimes, just sometimes, there are video games that posit characters that kind of just go, yeah, maybe a bit too evil and I probably should be stopped. Or I kind of want to be stopped because it's kind of the thrill I get from being caught. Or actually, I've just realised the error of my ways at the very last second and kind of think, yeah, actually, fair enough, I've gone a bit too far. But that's what we're going to be talking about today, as I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 8 video game villains who wanted you to win. And you know the drill. Put your suggestions for next week's episode down in the comments section below, and also be kind to me about the studio. I know it's got a few things that I need to change here and there. The microphone's probably going to be a bit weird as well, going from the Procaster to this. But hey, we're working with it. We're evolving. It's just part of the growing pains, all right? Also, apologies to the bike. R.I.P. I've actually given it away as well. I know, I'm breaking all the bad news today, sorry. Number 8, Dormin, Shadow of the Colossus. Now, Shadow of the Colossus is big bad Dormin has an incredibly vested interest in the protagonist Wanda succeeding in their quest, given that Dormin manipulated them into carrying it out in the first place. Now, at the start of the game, Dormin tasks Wanda with slaying the 16 colossi residing throughout the Forbidden Land if he wants to resurrect Mono, a dead woman that he brings to Dormin's temple. And even accepting the profound sense of melancholy that's felt every time we, the player, slay a Colossus, little could fully prepare anyone for that climactic mic drop revelation that Dormin is actually a godlike entity who has been sealed away in the temple by Lord Aemon and his men. So basically, all the fragments that we've been collecting throughout the game allow Dormin to piece together his body, kind of like an amazing puzzle, but when you've completed it, rather than standing back and going, wow, that is a lovely picture of the Time Bridge, instead, it's just death. Endless pain, suffering, death. It's a bad time because of the fact that you've just helped the bad guy win. Now, even though you are eventually able to destroy Dormin's presence in this world, he definitely won. I mean, he's one of the very few instances in video games where the villain straight up just wins, and it's only thanks to the actions of another character that you get to undo all the damage that you've done. I bet you felt like a right silly sausage the first time that you did this, because you just look at those colossi and you think, I'm taking you down. And the colossi are like, hey, did you ever think there's a reason why I'm not attacking you that much? Please stop. Please stop. Oh, I wonder what he means by please stop. Oh, time to die. Number 7, Dr. Neo Cortex, Crash Bandicoot 2, Cortex Strikes Back. Now, Crash Bandicoot 2 is never going to win an award for the best written story in the world ever, but it did have a pretty unique twist that the main villain of the piece, Dr. Neo Cortex, just appeared and said, hey Crash, mate, listen, first game, apologies, that's on me, Daddy's picking up this check, but you know what, let's work together this time around. And you, as a player who knows anything about his character, would be going, no, you're going to betray me. But Crash is just like, okay, or wow. Now, at the start of the game, Cortex tells Crash that an upcoming planetary alignment will cause a solar flux capable of destroying the Earth. But if Crash is able to collect 25 pink power crystals, you can avert this crisis. And so through part of the game, Cortex is quite enthusiastically rooting for you to hoover up the crystals from each of the game's levels. But of course, there is a twist to the narrative. And that is that he just goes, sorry mate, my pants were on fire, I am a dirty, dirty liar, and that means that I'm going to betray you now. And everyone, bar Crash, is just like, well, we saw that coming. He's just like, what? Oh. Because he actually wants to use the crystals to power his Cortex Vortex, which will let him transform everyone on Earth into his brainwashed slaves. Because why the hell not? He's an evil genius, he can do what he wants. This then forces Crash to head to space to battle Cortex before he can use the crystals, ultimately leaving the baddie stranded in outer space. Well, until the next game, of course. That's actually a pretty good impression. Number 6, The Boss. Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. Now, players spent almost the entirety of Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater diametrically opposed to The Boss, their former mentor who defects to the USSR and leaves Naked Snake, aka Big Boss, for dead in the game's prologue. Now, this all heads towards an epic final battle with The Boss, but I'll stop saying that, where Snake can complete his mission of terminating her. But when the two meet, The Boss makes it clear that she expects Snake to defeat her and inherit the title of Boss, which he promptly does, and then she orders him to shoot her dead afterwards, which he also does. Now, the tragic truth is then subsequently revealed that the Boss was never actually a defector. She was ordered to infiltrate the Soviet side as a double agent and acquire the Philosopher's Legacy, which is a global slush fund worth about $100 billion. But the Boss's mission had one final objective. After acquiring the legacy, she needed to die as a traitor to prevent America from having political connections to terrorist attacks that are carried out by the Boss's collaborator, Volgin. It's all very complicated, as you'd expect from a Hideo Kojima game. And so while it is a devastating revelation for Snake, the Boss knew precisely what she was doing and that Snake had to defeat her for the apparent greater good. Still, didn't make it any less sad. Traumatizing. Number 5, Face McShooty, Borderlands 2. Now, while Face McShooty is technically one of the few non-hostile psychos that you'll encounter throughout the Borderlands franchise, he's still more of a villain than a hero, if only because he's so damn annoying to listen to. In Borderlands 2, McShooty will simply stand around the area of 1,000 cuts and scream that he wishes for somebody to shoot him in the face, and he's serious enough about it that he'll even offer you a mission, aptly titled, Shoot This Guy in the Face. I mean, I don't know what I was thinking when I first came across this, but I actually found a massive amount of distrust between me and him. I was just like, there's got to be a twist. There's got to be something else. I feel like if I shoot you, then there's going to be some sort of like moral judgment happening around here because people are just going to go, oh, shouldn't have done that, mate, shouldn't have done that. But no, you shoot him in the face and he just goes, thanks, and you win. Oh, and you'll also get an achievement for it called, well, that was easy. And it was, yeah. And also there's a fun fact here. If you try to shoot him anywhere but the face, it won't have any effect on him whatsoever, and he will just keep screaming at you until you shoot him in the head. It's a weird addition, but I love it. I love it. Number 4, Darth Traya. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, The Sith Lords. Now, with the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2 game, we have another case of a villain who wants the hero to succeed in their goal because they're actually secretly aligning themselves with said hero in the hopes of duping them into doing their bidding. Now, throughout the game, players control a former Jedi Knight who's been exiled from the Jedi Order and are accompanied by a Jedi mentor by the name of Kreia, who aids them in their mission to track down reclusive Jedi Masters in order to fight back against the Sith. Except, at the end of the story, we learn that your mentor is actually the Sith Lord Darth Traya and was banking on the exile locating each of the Jedi Masters so that she could cut them off from the Force as part of her wider mission to wound the Force so severely that it dies out entirely. And I'm sorry, I know that we should definitely be against this plan because losing the Force would be bad, but what a metal thing to do. Oh, what are you up to on the weekend? I'm popping down to B&Q and then for a coffee down at Pontypridd. But you know, what are you up to?
Oh, me? I'm actually going to try and wound the Force so badly that it dies.
Now, players are able to decide for themselves how they deal with the Jedi Masters, either killing them in revenge for being exiled or teaming up with them against Darth Traya. But if you decide to team up, Darth Traya will kill all the Jedi Masters at the end of the game while attempting to cut them off from the Force. But if you kill them yourself in pure cold-blooded revenge, she'll attack you for falling to the dark side. Cheers? Number 3, Shaun, Fallout 4. Now, at the end of Fallout 4, the sole survivor reaches the mysterious faction known as the Institute in pursuit of their long-lost son, Shaun, and comes face to face with a much older Shaun, who is in fact the leader of the Institute and, get this, the game's ultimate antagonist. Shaun then reveals that it was he who unfroze the protagonist, either Shaun's father or mother, at the start of the game because he's dying of cancer and wishes for his parent to succeed him as the Institute's next director. But given the Institute's primary mission of kidnapping and enslaving synths, the player is given a choice about whether to side with their progeny or reject the invitation. Despite being responsible for every awful thing the Institute has been accused of doing across the Commonwealth, Sean absolutely wanted you to reach him and take the keys to the Institute, regardless of your own feeling about his conduct. And it creates a bit of a weird situation, isn't it? Because not only are you looking at a much older version of your son, and you're just kind of like, I mean, you've done some pretty horrible things here. And he's still like, yeah, I am, but I'm technically older than you. I'm your elder right now. You should listen to me. I'm wiser than you. And you're just like, go to your room? And he's like, I have many rooms. This entire institute is my room. You're in my house, mate. Yeah, God, that's a bit awkward, isn't it? I can't ground you. He's like, oh no, you've been underground yourself. And he's like, bang. Number 2, Joseph Seed, Far Cry New Dawn. Now, Far Cry New Dawn concludes with cult leader Joseph Seed reaching a disillusioned state, ultimately disbanding his New Eden cult following the death of his son Ethan, and, after coming to appreciate the horrific actions carried out in his own name, straight up begs the player to end him. Joseph wants the player to do the very thing that they've probably been fantasizing about doing since Far Cry 5's begun, and that is shoot him right in the face. Hell, he even holds the gun there for you. But players are ultimately given a choice. You can either comply with Joseph's request and shoot him dead, or refuse and leave him to scream, "Release me!" ad nauseum to the point of comedy. I mean, I know that it's a very emotional moment, but it's like, you know that bit in that Superman film where Zod is kind of like, I will find him? It's just like one of those moments where you're just like, oh, that was emotional the first time, but you keep on saying it, and it's just funny now. It's just like if there was a little action figure, I will find him. Weirdly, though, if you actually do leave the area and then come back to it, Joseph has mysteriously vanished. So it's one of those things where you're kind of like, ooh, after everything that he's been doing, I probably should have ended things here. Oh, never mind, yeah. All the same, after Far Cry 5 handed the player such a lackluster choice of miserable dual endings, it was satisfying to finally get the option to kill Joseph, even if he was all too happy for it this time around. And number 1, Augustus Sinclair, BioShock 2. And so we close by talking about the second best BioShock game in the franchise. Yeah, Infinite, you can get right to the bottom of the pile. Let's talk about BioShock 2 and Augustus Sinclair. And I want to be clear, for like 90% of the runtime, Augustus isn't actually a villain. But when he does turn, he does so pretty quickly and then begs you to end things. Because yeah, he's not a straight up villain, but he's definitely dubious of his morality at times. But he only really becomes an actual antagonistic force at the tail end of the game when he's forcibly turned into one by the real villain Dr. Sophia Lamb, who converts Sinclair into Subject Omega, basically a souped up Big Daddy. Sinclair has no control over his physical actions as Omega attempts to kill you, but because he still has his verbal faculties scarcely intact, he straight up asks you to kill him and insists that you shouldn't feel bad for doing so. Hell, after you deliver the killing shot, he falls to the ground and even thanks you for effectively putting him out of his misery. Clearly enough of Sinclair's better instincts stuck around even after he'd been turned into an elite killing machine. It did make the moment quite sad, didn't it? Because you're just kind of like, oh, that's a real bummer. You've been helping me out the entire time. But I did like the fact that it echoed what happened in BioShock 1. You had somebody helping you all the way to turn a villain at the end, and this time around, he was turned against his will. I was like, oh, comme ci, comme ça. We're basically going around in circles forevermore. And then you think about BioShock Infinite and about how just history repeats itself all the time. And then you just go, ugh, it's going up his own arse. Less said about the DLC, the better. And there we go, my friends. Those were 8 villains who wanted you to win. I hope that you enjoyed that, and let me know what you thought about it down in the comment section below. As always, I've been Jules. You have indeed been awesome, my friend. And you can follow me over here on the social medias. You can follow my lovely editor, Sai, on the social medias over here as well. But I hope that you're treating yourself well, my friend, because you are not a villain. You are the hero of this story. You deserve the best things in life, like love, happiness, and success. And I hope that you are achieving your life goals. And if not, go out there and smash them anyway. Get up in life's face, stand toe-to-toe with it, and be like, you are not going to beat me down. And you'll see it shrink, and then you can just go, boosh, right on top of the head. Boosh, like that. It's a metaphor, but it kind of works. Anyway, right, so I hope that you're treating yourself well. Big love to you, my friend. I'll see you here next week on What Culture for another Choose Your Own Adventure. And like I said, please be kind about the studio. It's a work in progress. Anyway, see you soon. Bye.